Okay, cool. We've tried this 3 times. We're going to just go into
Yeah, we were trying to do some natural banter and stuff, but it's long gone. The moment's dead.
We could put it in. It might end up in. But you know what? Well, this film club, we talk about films and stuff. I'm Matt.
I'm Adil.
And yeah, we're talking about Extraction.
Yeah.
We've got some recasting stuff. We've got some fun little bits.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some news. Stick around. Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to the film club.
Cool. We're in.
I don't know how to start this off.
I know.
Yeah, we're going to timestamp some stuff that we're actually talking about. So again, we said in the intro, we're talking about Film Club. We've got some film news. We're going to start off with some film news.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to go into the review of Extraction. Then we've got a couple of games that we can do that we've talked about that you're going to find out about, which is like recastings and character replacements and stuff that we find really interesting. We hope you do too. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to go into a recommendation for what we can watch next week.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Starting this.
Okay, cool.
I'm really hyped now. Let's do it!
I know.
Oh!
We finally got through it. Nothing's broken yet. I'm watching you.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Don't you start this again.
I'll bleep myself out. I'm sorry for swearing. Anyway, film news.
Yeah. Cool.
I've got some on my phone. Sorry. Do you want to go some? Oh, it deleted itself.
Okay, well, I'll go first while you have another panic attack.
No, so I know what it is. It's just my opinion of it, so it's not too bad. But yeah, you start us off, mate.
Yeah, no, cool. I'll go first then, because one of the things I was kind of interested by was to do with the Cannes Film Festival, which obviously is all up in the air whether it's actually going to physically happen, but it's revealed its lineup of the 56 films for this year. Kind of some big names: Wes Anderson, Steve McQueen, Pixar have got a film. The main one, or the kind of, the one that was going to open the festival, was Spike Lee's new film, which is called The Five Bloods. It's coming on Netflix on June 12th. And it's interesting. It's a quartet of African-American veterans who return to Vietnam for their fallen squad leader remains. Squad leader being Chadwick Boseman. But yeah, it's kind of, that's a film I'm really excited about. And I was going to I thought that'd be a kind of good lead-in for us to kind of get into a longer conversation about things that are going on with films right now, especially to do with I'll get more into the Nolan one down the line, but it's interesting to see that kind of they're still trying to crack ahead, and we'll see Cannes so influential, but maybe this is kind of a year where it's the films kind of start to get noticed on their own merits more, because everyone's kind of getting to them individually rather than getting it within the system that kind of normally works the machine.
Yeah. See, like, unfortunately, for me, I'm already kind of taking this into how it's going to be received just based on how people are feeling right now, and based on when this is recorded. There is a lot of kind of riots and stuff going on to do with like the race war and everything, and I'm just wondering if this would be like a different, like, if people are really going to take notice of this to actually kind of be. Like not thinking just for, because obviously it's more important than just awards, but like in the Oscars and stuff, if this was something that people are like, we need to take notice and we need to take action. I'm just wondering how that's now going to be portrayed more, and how people are going to take notice of that more in cinema.
I mean, it's interesting that you've got the balance of this being the African American side, and obviously Spike Lee's got a massive history there with Do the Right Thing. Is probably one of the most. The fact that was even nominated, I don't think, was kind of a travesty, and that Spike Lee's always kind of been there as evidence, almost like kind of living evidence of the failure of Oscars generally to recognize this kind of stuff. It's an interesting one.
Sorry to turn it into that, by the way. It's just kind of what kind of occurred to me as you were talking about.
The balance with the military and the black side of it, I think, would almost kind of help with the discussion, just to have those two competing, because there's kind of a similar mentality to the military to the police, especially when it's getting to these kind of, the way the mindset's getting forced by the way everything's kind of being portrayed and happening right now. But I just thought, mainly, I'm just kind of excited it's coming out June the 12th. It's another Spike Lee film. Any kind of big name box office film that is going to kind of come out is kind of, everything's all up in the air, and kind of happy for what we do get at this stage. So I just hope that follows through. Yeah.
Where's it actually going to be thingy then?
That's Netflix.
Oh, Netflix.
So that was actually Cannes last year had said they won't accept Netflix films, but this year they've let that go. It was already kind of happening, but that's already a balancing act that was happening with the kind of theatre establishment against the streaming services, and if anything, the pandemic, and then this is just kind of gave any more.
Merge everything into the right path. Just kind of help give it up a kick.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, what's your next bit of news? Because mine kind of follows on from that.
Oh, right, okay. Mine's a little bit different in... it was just Ridley Scott talking about re-evolving the Alien franchise, and I'm like... I just want to know your opinion. Yeah, exactly. That was my opinion, because I was like, dude, just leave it alone.
I mean,
like, I know people like it and stuff, but it's like, either do something else, or genuinely, like, stick to something and, like, do it. Like... I'm trying to think of examples that do. Like, I'm not a big fan of the new Harry Potters, where it's like all the ones in America
Grindelwald
and
stuff.
And it's like, but at least they're kind of following something, kind of.
I haven't watched those,
like,
so I can't.
Yeah, I've only just watched them recently because I've wanted to watch them for ages, and I just managed to find the time to actually do it, and they were all right. Like,
I think
they
largely
don't have,
that's not the opinion.
Yeah, like they don't have the magic of the original films.
Oh, look at you!
Oh yeah,
There we go.
but at least it's something that, and it's kind of sticking to its own thing. Like, well, maybe, I don't know. It's kind of going back into more Dumbledore sort of stuff, but it kind of was anyway. So I don't know.
Either way,
for me, it's like if you're gonna take something, because we were talking about this the other day to do with The Last Jedi. It's like to do with Star Wars and people's visions and stuff. And it's like if you've got a vision for something that's like within this franchise, at least roll with it. At least have. Like, because I feel that's where the sequel trilogy has really fallen down. It's like they got Abrams to come in and like kick it off, and it's like, yeah, that's good job. And then they brought Johnson in, and because people were so divided about it, they were like, no, let's go back and do the safe thing and do all this, and it just kind of fell flat for me.
They let go of everything that was a positive move from The Last Jedi, everything that was interesting and kind of moving Star Wars forward. They just absolutely balked at it and reversed and just made one of the most pedestrian, like. You just all around kind of shit.
Nonsensical as well.
It just didn't.
Like, it wasn't, and
you could tell it was kind of made by committee. There was just wasn't. One of the things I kind of harp on about is the what can be achieved with just one person's pure vision and everyone just kind of working towards that goal. And when you let one person who fully understands their picture for it kind of do it, very special things can happen. But when there's too many people involved, it just dilutes it.
I was going to say another example of that, like kind of coming on from the same era, I guess, would be James Cameron. And it's like,
I was about to bitch about him at the beginning and all of his Avatar sequels, because by the way, that first film sucks. I'll stand by that to this day. It looks great. As a film, it's terrible. Like, think about it.
It's a standard, like, they ripped off Pocahontas.
I couldn't believe that he spent like 11 years making it. I know a lot of that was tech stuff, but then it's just like, could you not just spend a little bit thinking about the story? Yeah. Come on, James Cameron.
I feel like you kind of had to go route one with it because to be fair, it did change the game.
Also, Sam Worthington.
Yeah.
I liked Man on a Ledge
at the time.
Well, I don't even know though.
Because he went on from there to do like
Clash
Salvation
and
like Terminator, Salvation and Clash of Champions or
Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans, all of those crap films. Again, I think he's okay. It's just, I can see where you're coming from. I don't really
yeah, because he's kind of got a vision for these Avatar things. He's not pushing it essentially. Like he's just like, this is what I want to do. This is my thing. This is my vision. Like, and I'm gonna go off and I'm not gonna bother anyone else. It's like great, but Ridley Scott's like, Alien, God, I want to do this with it. I want to do that with it. And it's like, oh fuck, stop.
Yeah,
I've had enough.
Yeah. So my next piece of news was actually going to be about Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet. Yep, I know we're both very excited about that. It's meant to be coming out on July the 17th, and they seem to be quite hopeful that actually stays through. One of the things I thought was quite interesting is, because that's going to be pretty much the first studio big movie. They want cinemas to open on July 1st. It's got a budget of 200 million. So it's pretty much the first thing in that scale coming out. Yeah. It's interesting, though, because there's a National Association of Theatre Owners in America said they expect 90% of the global theatrical marketplace to be open by mid-July. And that seems way... I mean, that's factoring in some kind of like, do you know, where like you have to leave a chair in between, stuff like that, like half-filled theatres.
I feel like, especially in some cinemas, you might have to leave like 3 in between.
Possibly. Well, it's the 2 meters, so what constitutes 2 meters is probably more than one chair, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we're both really, really excited about that. The only other things that are kind of coming out in any real kind of scale is Mulan, unless Disney just decide to make it go straight to VOD, and Wonder Woman 1984, which is another Warner Brothers film that's coming out August 12th, which Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins back. But realistically, like kind of feels a bit like, especially the way the kind of conversation's being portrayed, that the future of movie theaters is in Nolan's hands alone. Like people
and
very
it
much
should
like
be.
that.
God damn it, it should be.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this film?
No, nothing. I only know like one
Can
person
I tell
in the
you
cast.
like
No,
nothing.
no, get.
No, I wasn't gonna tell you what it's about.
No.
All right, fine.
No. I don't want spoilers. I'm gonna.
No, I wasn't gonna spoil it. I was just gonna tell you what it's like. A theme of it actually is, and it's like.
So you weren't gonna
So
tell
you
me
know,
a spoiler. You were gonna tell me something about the film.
No, so you know like how Inception is. You know, like how Inception is about a heist.
It's yeah.
That's all I was gonna say. Is like it's about that kind of thing.
No, don't want to know. Don't
All right. So what I'm just gonna say, it looks like Inception on acid. Is all I'm gonna say, and
Okay.
it looks sick.
Okay.
Like,
That's all you're allowed to say. What's your film news? I'm moving on. I'm making an executive decision.
oh,
I'm not ruining this film.
I do like the way he takes control of these podcasts. It was something we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, also with Sam, because he brought it up. It was on the chat. Is Justice League Snyder cut?
Oh yeah.
The
Snyder
because
cut.
there's also been like new introductions of characters and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden Cavill's back for the role to do another film, and it's like, I don't care about this cut. How much of a difference do you think the Snyder cut is going to be compared to what we saw in the cinema?
Well, this is the thing. Is like my issues with that film weren't that they took away the Snyderness of it. Like the problem isn't going to be solved by more like superheroes crashing through buildings and destroying cities, and like the problem with that film was any kind of story logic. The whole Martha thing was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. And then also just like no real character investment, or I liked Ben Affleck. I liked his Batman. He was goddamn huge. But beyond that, like, it's also, I find myself in a weird position with Henry Cavill as well, because I really don't know how I feel about him. Like, I watched The Man from U.N.C.L.E. quite recently, and I thought he was okay in that.
Mission Impossible 6 was real good.
I think he's all right, but that whole reloading his arms was great. But this the thing is, like, I look at it and I'm like, okay, you look like, he's got the chin, he's got the head, he looks like a bust of a movie star. But
he's got the chin and he's got the head.
do you know what I mean? He's got that big movie star head. I can't remember which actor said it, but he was like, if you look at every movie star, they've all got massive heads, and it's like a legit,
That's their ego.
it's like a legitimate thing. Well, I mean, physically as well, just in terms of like, that's what you expect from a movie star. But yeah, he kind of, I'm conflicted on him because I like him personally, but I don't see the role that can you see him ever winning an Oscar?
Not for being Superman.
What has he done anything interesting though? Like, he's never made any interesting career choices from what I can see. He's like the opposite. He's the opposite of Robert Pattinson. That's my case.
See, I disagree with that because I really liked him in The Witcher.
That's not an interesting career choice though. He's into it. He's a video gamer.
Yeah,
this was just like his
that's
dream.
kind of the point. He's doing something more for him, and he's really bringing something to that character.
But it's also like a big net. Like, when I say something interesting, it tends to be me with my kind of like independent cinema. Like, something with some real kind of, it's either got a bad diagnosis or like, some family strife, or all of those kind of films where you can really like, you see actors do the kind of minimal but big kind of acting. And it's, a lot of it actually is to do with as well, kind of actors tying themselves to interesting directors and being like, the kind of Michael B. Jordan way of thinking, where he tied himself to, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name.
Ryan Coogler,
yeah. And I just don't know. I don't know what fixes Cavill, but he seems like he's going to be one of those kind of like, he could disappear in 3 years and not be in anything, and no one would notice or say anything, if you know what I mean.
I don't think that's a bad thing, though.
No, but I just think it's odd. Like, I'm just like, certain people, you're just like, where's your place? I really can't place it.
It's like, I'm trying to think of Anna Faris, when she was like
That's a
one
good
of the
one.
biggest guys going in like Scary Movie and stuff, and being a part of that for like the early noughties, and then
Yeah, just kind of didn't really go
went
anywhere.
off the radar a bit. I mean, to be fair, that's when her husband finally took over and did something with his thingy, and then became one of the biggest stars in the world.
This is actually going to kind of translate across to when we do the little actors game later, because my name's, I've got kind of a lot of that logic to it, where people who I, they haven't had the right thing, but we'll save that for down the line.
Okay.
What's your next bit of film news, if you've got one?
I don't have one.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
There was something that I remember seeing, but I forgot about it.
The only thing I saw otherwise that I kind of thought was interesting was Sylvester Stallone put a picture up of him training with Drago for Rocky 4 on Instagram, just talking about. I think he says, "I believe this is the best boxing fight in the history of cinema," which, you know, it's an interesting case because there's been some more interesting shot ones recently. Creed's got a great one with Rachel Morrison where you're in the ring and it's all one shot and it feels as real as any boxing fight, you know, ever. Then there's Raging Bull and real classic films. So it's a really strong thing to say, and especially not. And it's kind of impressive that I didn't immediately just be like, sod off, because, you know, I really do rate those films in a big way. He talked as well about Drago and Creed getting in a shoving match for real between rounds. Drago shoving Apollo into his corner, and Apollo just being like, nah. Which obviously isn't. I don't know why he uses the actors' names rather than the real people, which makes me laugh. But I just thought that was kind of cute. That Sylvester Stallone, his Instagram generally is kind of funny because it's just, you know, old man language nostalgia. So I always like to kind of, you know, you see things occasionally with like set photos.
Especially him
and
at his age now, I wouldn't take his ego as a problem. So it's just like he's trying to still see himself in the world. Doesn't need him anymore.
I think there's a lot more. I don't put him in the camps of your Steven Seagals and Wesley Snipes and, like, you know, a lot of. I actually think he's probably
higher than that.
No, like in terms of being a reasonable human being. Like if you think about that '80s camp of Psycho, John Travolta, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they've all got their own shit. He might be the most weird. I need a better word than that. But
More
there doesn't
normal?
seem to be that much. Yeah, mess with. I like Stallone. He's a cool story. He, you know, found his first sets of weights in like a kind of garbage area after watching a film and kind of got doing it. And they like when he did Rocky, they were like, well, we'll pay way more if you just give us a script. We need to cast someone else, and he stood his ground and he got the part. So there's actually a lot to be taken from him. And
Plus, he was in Spy Kids 3D.
Yeah, great film. And I actually respect, like, when he did the more recent ones, he's kind of got into more emotional things and kind of, I think he's one of those that, you know, he's not going to act well in every film and you're not going to think he's a good actor, but certain moments.
Generally.
But this is the thing is, if you watch the more recent Rocky films, Creed, Balboa, like, because you get the sense that character's so integral to him and such a part of him that it's an easier thing to kind of connect to than like I can't see him suddenly going into like a period drama and being great, but he really can, like, he understands Rocky and he can get across kind of some of that kind of, you know, working class, a little bit head knocked around, not dumb but not, you know, like.
I can't speak too much because I haven't actually seen it, but to me that feels as though that's just him being him.
Well, I mean, with Creed, he gets a bad diagnosis. His wife dies. Like, there's a lot more emotional stuff to get in the most recent two.
Okay.
And he really does well with that stuff. Like, there's some stuff. His actual kid died. They put his picture of his kid in the set. He didn't want him to do it, and, like, you know, that was a really noticeably kind of effective moment in the film. So it's one of those that over a career he has his moments as well. So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of, it's nice to have some kind of wholesome social media content for one, and he's kind of good for that.
All right.
Yeah. But no, that's pretty much the film news for me this time.
Yeah, there's not that much that we can kind of talk about.
Well, there's not much going on. There's also, everything's kind of been overshadowed, but we're just trying to, like, you know, it's not really, there's not so much we can say or add. Everyone knows what's going on, so we'll just talk about stuff we like.
Sorry, I have some film news.
Oh, go on.
Sonic 2 is in the works, possibly.
Jesus. I haven't seen the new one. But,
what did I see? I saw clips of it
I really like Ben Schwartz.
that basically tell me what the exact film is. So I've seen Sonic.
That seems fair.
And yeah, I do like Ben Schwartz. A recommendation just generally, I wanted you to watch it because I was watching it a couple of weeks ago at the flat. Middleditch and Schwartz have like a Netflix special where it's just all improv, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and if you want like a podcast or something,
thing.
they've been going on a podcast called Comedy Bang Bang for like over 10 years, kind of doing different characters every time.
That's
The
news
episodes
to me.
are an hour and a half odd long. They've
Oh.
got best ofs every year, which are again they're like 3 or 4 episodes of again an hour and a half plus long, where they have long clips from the best voted on shows.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a whole
got me a new
world.
thing.
There's a world
Nice.
of content there. I've been watching that stuff for years.
So that was all the film news. We're going to go into the film that we watched last week. Last week.
For
It's
this
a while.
week, yeah.
For this week.
Yeah.
Which was Extraction. It was my recommendation because I wanted to watch it, and I wanted to see what you thought because it was the Big Dog's Bollocks on Netflix, and everyone was talking about it, and it's been top of the charts, whatever their charts is.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
like the last couple of weeks. So what did we think?
You're just gonna put it straight on me. I mean, I thought it was. I was kind of
First,
again.
is it a good film or is it a bad film?
Well, I moderated my expectations, so I wasn't expecting much, and I think it was fine. Like, if there's a certain type of, it's kind of in between a few things. It's not like a kind of We Were Soldiers, Saving Private Ryan, profound wartime thing. It's not a kind of John Wick, John Wick, Schwarzenegger, just pure action thing. It seems to be a little bit in between. I thought they tried some interesting stuff with the direction and the cinema, like the way it was filmed, which is, I think, kind of hit and miss.
There was like one stretch of it where it was trying to do like this whole long shot thing. I liked it at the time. I don't know if it'll still hold up.
I'm somewhat soured against the kind of long take thing just recently, because again, it's felt like one of those gimmicks where I think people are moving away from what it's really useful and effective for, in like, and it's become a bit of a, like, you got to kind of have a long take, otherwise what kind
In
of
what
director
films
are you?
though? What films are you kind of referencing when you think it's kind of a gimmick at the moment?
Well, it's not so much films. Even things like TV shows, like Mr. Robot. I thought it was a gimmick in Extraction. Even 1917, to a degree. Like, I think that was kind of the beginning of the end of it kind of being more of a, because actual kind of cinematic story for a purpose, it can forces you in it. You understand the character's point of view. It makes everything a lot more immediate. But as something that's just being done now for a kind of spectacle, it feels like to me, and it's just, it's whether it's actually serving the storyline, and whether you start thinking, hey, have they cut? Oh, no, I don't think they have. And then you start to see the tricks that they do, and you're like, okay, so they haven't cut, but they've done that trick, and it just all serves to pull you away from the film in my head. And there's a certain degree of, it should all be serving to kind of keep you engaged in the actual world of the film. That's what it does when it's good. And now it just feels like we're all kind of like, oh, long take, and it's doing the opposite effect it was meant to.
Here's a question about that though. Is that just a thing you and I do? Because we look at films very critically. So, like, it's easier for us to look at a film and be like, oh, they're just doing that for that sake, rather than anyone else who's watching the film to be like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Because there's many times where we're like, why the they use that shot? Or why does it look like this? Or how did they get it up there? And it's like, most people aren't watching films thinking that, so maybe that's more of an us thing.
Possibly. There probably isn't the same level of frustration for people who aren't as involved in the process behind just thinking through that way. But I also just think if it's losing its effect as an actual device in filmmaking, because it's just becoming something that looks cool, audiences like, it's going to get you some props. It feels like a portfolio thing. Like, you direct an episode of a TV show, you need to have a long take to in your back pocket to show you can do it, and it just kind of looks good from your point of view.
No, I'd love to see a Russo brothers long take. I don't think I've seen one.
I'd rather see like a kind of Justin Lin type long take, a good action one. Because again, I think where it can be used really well, like the original Old Boy one versus the Josh Brolin Old Boy, and just the lack of impact it had, because the original Old Boy was so simple in terms of the way it was filmed. Directionally, they were all going one way, he was going another way. The way it was kind of ebb and flow of energy, like a real thing. Like, he had to fight these hundreds of people, but it gives an element of realism with the breaks he takes and with the strain he's clearly under. But it's just not done that well, and the more something happens, it's obviously just gonna, it's just one of those. I think it's one of those. It's kind of like my trendy thing to bitch about for the moment, because it's just gonna happen more and more, and just gonna become less and less effective.
Yeah, because I thought they did it well in this film.
It was definitely not the worst case of it. An episode of Mr. Robot I watched recently had the worst job of it, where it was just blatantly obvious where they were cheating it, and it was just like, this isn't even impressive, like, because you're holding on like it was using a lift like display as the cut point, and it was just holding on it for like 10 seconds, and it was just like, well, you could have cut it 4 times in there. You're gonna keep going back to lift every 10 minutes. It's so obvious that you're using this.
You could have got the lights to flicker.
Or you could have used different things within the lift, like have them look up and then do it on the ups, but they just use the same thing. So no, that's kind of more of a general rant, and it's not even anything to do with Extraction, really. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I thought it wasn't as formulaic as a lot of these kind of films can be, especially when there's one guy. What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. I think it was a bit tropey in the way that it was like, introduce the characters,
This guy's
especially
gonna
the main
betray him.
character, because it's just like, oh, he's got a dark past, oh, he's got a secret, oh, we're going to find out what that secret was and the reason why they're like that, and that's why he's taking this on. It's like, well, you kind of have to do that anyway in film, so fair enough.
Yeah, it's just nothing
You
really
could be a
caught you
little
off
bit
guard.
more original with the way that you did it, or at least a bit more interesting, and like make it something that's not always been done before. But maybe that's just the trope of that film. It's like they've always had some sort of family issues, or something. It's like the Punisher. It's that kind of
Well, yeah.
that kind of tragic backstory. So maybe that's just that part. That's just part of that kind of genre.
Honestly, watching it, this pretty much bodes well for what we're going to be doing with this episode. But just I kept seeing kind of untapped potential, really, because everything felt a little bit. Him as a character, he was.
Sorry, I just pulled that straight out my ear.
I know.
Ow!
He was kind of. Okay.
So this is a seamless transition.
Oh,
we
I
can
like
just add
it.
this in.
I like
by the
it.
way.
Yeah.
Just add that whole bit in.
Yeah.
We had some problems shooting. Was it yesterday?
No, it was like 7 days ago. We've totally lost track of time at this point during all this. I think it was 2 days ago. We had like every form of battery that could died.
Yeah, whilst we were giving this a go. I quite like it today.
Yeah, it seems
getting
we're seeming
better.
a little bit more like we're in better luck.
Also, I came up with an idea. This is completely different. Sorry.
Okay, shut up. Don't tell anyone.
Wait, cover the mic, cover the camera. So, yeah, I came up with an idea of how we could do the build the set thing that we were talking about.
Uh-huh.
So if anyone was listening, just don't listen. Anyway. So the film, we were talking about the film.
Extraction.
We were talking about a long tape for a while. I wanted to go into just what I kind of liked about it. It was a bit Route One, but I feel like it was a good Route One. There's differences between films where it's like, this is the standard thing that films do in order for it to be a film of that genre, and like how you can do it but just tank it. And I thought it did a pretty good job.
I agree. It's definitely serviceable. It's definitely like the perfect kind of you can kind of relax into it and kind of not really overthink things. I just don't think some of these films have a kind of weird rewatchability. Like 13 Hours of Benghazi and some of these kind of military films seem to have people just go back to them. I'm not sure if it's a film that people are going to go back to in the same kind of way.
See, I don't know, because I feel like it doesn't hit it as well, obviously, but like we're both massive fans of the John Wick franchise.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has some sort of, like, you can see similarities between the two.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not a knockoff version of it, but I feel like it's kind of, it can hang in the talk about that sort of genre. And I love that sort of genre at the moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the kind of one person against everyone else sort of thing. And
Yeah.
you're kind of following them in realish sort of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just for me, it was more the enjoyability of this is actually an alright film, and actually getting into it. Rather, we've watched some stuff, and it's just been complete and utter bollocks.
Yeah. I think the thing for me most recently, and maybe it's just my fault that I've watched too many thousands of films over my life, but just when you start watching a film and everything feels like you put that shot in because that's going to come back later, so you've just ruined that whole surprise, and like you've just introduced this character in such a suspicious way that I know they're going to double cross me, but then they'll eventually end up like, and just when
Yeah,
you can kind of feel
you called
everything.
the bit about not to try and give stuff away, but there's a bit with David Harbour's character, and like when we were watching it, you were just immediately like, yeah, he's gonna do that.
Yeah.
And
It's just like,
yeah,
okay.
that's pretty much where it's going. And then it happened, and it's like, okay. But then,
But I'm leaning towards anyway, that should be an attitude of more like just celebrate what comes along that really kind of intrigues me and pushes those boundaries. Doesn't mean we have to slag off everything that does come out for not being that kind of groundbreaking. So I think for what it is, this film, accomplishes the job, does what it says on the tin. Like, it's an interesting balance of that kind of one man on his own versus the kind of military thing, and both of those kind of different sets of challenges and what they're kind of getting at with human nature.
how would you? Sorry, I always go off on tangents.
No, go.
How would you make it different then? Like, before we go into the stuff that we're talking about, like just story-wise, like
Yeah.
what things would you actually kind of make
I've actually
different
kind
to-
of done this when we do our character replacements and our
Okay.
actor stuff down the line, because I've talked about why I wanted to put these different characters in and what kind of thematic stuff you can get into there. But just to kind of think of some broad stuff I could bring up, just things like they could have gone into maybe more of the political angle, and they could have also had it be like, what would have been interesting with a kind of different nationality in there, like for a lot of these kind of black operations, the US don't use actual Americans because they want it to be fully deniable. They'll get operatives from other countries and like, you know, so then that'll come into my character replacements. When I think of people from different countries, I was like,
Okay.
I can totally imagine the US government just enlisting these guys off the books and getting them to do the kind of job. So maybe the political angle. I like the kind of action, but again, not quite and I like the kind of way some of it was shot. Like they were trying to do some interesting stuff with really kind of sharp camera movement and the long take, like we talked about. But honestly, I think like wouldn't be that much to do with it visually or the way it's filmed or anything. It'd probably just be to try and give it a little bit more depth in the kind of quieter moments, like the moments with David Harbour and maybe the stuff talking about family and things like that. Because again, you know, there's always every soldier has to have the tragic family thing that happens in these kind of films, and it would be, I know, it could be more interesting if they didn't go down that angle and they gave him another motivation for why he's out there doing these kind of really dangerous wet work for them. So yeah, there's different ways you could go about it, but again, if you're trying to keep it as a down the line people's entertainment film, I think they kind of did a decent job, and it can kind of satisfy, you know, kids will like it, dad'll be alright with it, mum will kind of like Chris Hemsworth, so she'll be alright with it too.
Anyone who's not anything behind Chris Hemsworth, I don't know who they are.
Yeah, we could have a semi-violent episode arguing about the Hemsworth brothers and just trying to rank all those fuckers.
We'll do one episode of the Hemsworths and then one episode of all the Chris's.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to do Battle of the Chris's. We've got that could get tense. That'd be like a 6-hour ep. Go without. We have to stop for like a food break and stuff. Just panting and getting angry about it.
Just ends up in a food fight. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, honestly, part of what, because kind of getting into more in the head of the character and doing a bit more of a character study is what I always go for with this kind of thing. So I'm not just, also, there's other ways they could have done it. So, you know, like I was thinking of other films that have been good with this kind of mercenary type angle, because I was talking to you about like, you know, it feels like they kind of had a heyday, the late 50s, 60s, 70s, and then there was Deadpool, but what was the last good one before that? Inception is kind of a heist movie, borderline, and then Ronin, I thought, was the last film, which was really the kind of real good mercenary type film. And that had some of the best car chases ever filmed. So maybe, you know, some of the kind of transit stuff could have been more interesting. It could have been interesting if it was more of a like kind of metaphorical thing, like Inception, like with the thing that everybody knows with the, you know, representing the teams in a film, all the different people in the Inception squad.
Oh yeah.
So like they could have gone a lot of different angles with it to make it slightly more interesting to me. But, you know, that's not what they were trying to go for, I imagine, with it. So it's one of those that kind of, if you know what you're getting in for, like a kind of nice, diverting, keeps the pace moving action film, it's a good one for you. And it's especially during something like this, it's kind of perfect for people to watch and just lose themselves in for a couple hours.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Cool.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Wait, it's your recommendation this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you some options though, because my films are always a little bit more of a reach for people. So I'll try not to be too difficult.
That's fine. Also, just on the side point, I can't remember if we talked about it last time we were recording this, which is going to be part of the same episode. But Knives Out, just speaking about stuff that was kind of stereotypical of that kind of plot of film, but also added something new, and you kind of didn't know where it was going in the end, or maybe you did. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of talk about that at some point. I don't want it to be soon though, because obviously I've just seen it, and I'd probably want to watch it again.
Yeah,
further down the line.
But that's a down the line one. Well, it's one of the films that I really meant to watch when it came out, and it's just been a weird time to try and get out and see anything.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna watch it at some point, hopefully when it comes on a streaming thing, and we'll do it. Maybe if it comes on a streaming service, because we're trying to kind of focus them around that.
Yes, I rented it.
Yes, of course you did. But no, yeah, well, that's also just makes it a bit easier anyway. We'll try and, because my picks for next week, I've tried to go around some streaming services too. So just makes it a bit easier for people.
You're smart.
Or it's just lazy.
I was going to say consider it. But
yeah, just scrolling through like, oh, that'll do. Just I can talk about that. I mean, I can talk about anything. So it wasn't too much of a concern. But no, is there anything else you were thinking about Extraction? I feel like there's going to be other films we can get into more of a kind of
probably
detailed debate about, but this is more of one of those kind of does what it says on the tin type films for me.
The only thing, if someone's not watched it, I'd say if you like that sort of genre, I think you're going to enjoy it. There's not much new to it. There's not much, it's just just an enjoyable film.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you wouldn't be disappointed if you watched it unless you had really high expectations for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you only get those kind of expectations is when it's like your favorite actor or director or kind of style of film.
Yeah.
But yeah, you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those like you just want to not really think for a while. Like I watched Need for Speed, the film, again the other night, which is one of my like.
Nice.
It's one of my kind of like if I don't really want to think and I just want like a guilty pleasure film just to put on and relax to, that's one of them for me. So Extraction is kind of one of those for me. Like you don't want an intellectual. Like I'm trying to think, it's like a book equivalent of like reading like a David Baldacci book or something. Like just some one of those actiony books rather than like some heavy non-fiction.
Cool.
So, yeah, try and highbrow us up with a literature metaphor.
So, we've kind of got a little name for this. We've got an intro that's going to come up. Kaplow!
Ooh.
Not like that. Yeah, like,
It'll happen.
You'll see it. Yeah,
yeah.
It'll happen. It's
It'll
a
be
work
cool.
in progress.
It'll be better than that.
Rewrites, which is basically us kind of recasting and replacing and all that kind of stuff because we like to think we can do it better.
Yeah, and it's just kind of
we're
interesting.
smart asses.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we think we know everything,
especially with films,
and we think we know better than everyone.
and
that's why we're going to tell these directors they put the wrong people in their film.
We're going to at them on Twitter.
Oh no!
Like, you know what?
I'm starting a war. I'm going right after. I don't even know who directed Extraction, but that's their fault.
Exactly. So, do you want to start us off with the recast?
Yeah. So we're going to kind of do it two different ways. One of the ways will be just changing out some of the main actors in films. So this one we're just going to do Chris Hemsworth character, the lead role, and the other thing we're going to kind of do is character replacements, where we stick characters from entirely different films and universes into this film, and then just talk about how we think that would make it a kind of more fun, interesting. It tends to be kind of chaotic, but you'll see when we get along.
We've got 3 each, right?
Yep.
Cool.
So I'll give you my first actor first. This is someone I've mentioned a couple of weeks ago actually, but again, he's someone who dropped off the radar. I'm not quite sure why, and I think he's kind of got the element of like watchability, likability. Not a classic action star, but he's got involved with it. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Ah, okay.
So again, there's one of those people that seems to like career's taken a bit of a stall, and I don't know why, and I don't back it. But I could see Joseph Gordon-Levitt being more of a kind of, relatable everyman type action star. Where
I feel like he needs that kind of role. Mm-hmm. Like he's already there, but I feel like he needs to get his own franchise sort of thing to be considered that megastar because he is really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Like he's always very understated. Like I just not recently. It was like a couple of months ago. But there's a Don John. Mm-hmm. Like
I've seen Don John. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was a really great character in it as well. And not just the fact that he gets to sleep with Scarlett Johansson, but like
it's an interesting one. I mean, you can see he wrote it himself, and it's like, oh, good job, mate. Who shall I cast?
Sees himself as the casting director.
Yeah, exactly. Who do I get in?
Yeah,
but that was a nice few weeks casting for him. But no, yeah, that is actually, it's a good kind of random film with a kind of very different topic which gets into,
yeah.
Which is like, I'm glad he got into it. Actually, it brought me into thinking. I ended up thinking quite a lot with my actors of the kind of history of action cinema and the fact that we had in the kind of 80s we had this obsession with just massive dudes, your Arnie's and Sly's and just yeah, exactly, muscles coming out the wazoo, HGH, roids, all that stuff
coming out of their where?
Wazoo. It's a bit
I didn't know you could
that.
train the wazoo.
I don't know. I think it's more.
Stop me when I get to the wazoo.
Added substances. I don't think we can. We'd have to blur it. We'd have to blur it. Blur. Now you just become an entire blur now. We need to blur your entire body
I'm
out.
still going.
I know. I can't see that low, and I don't want to watch that low.
I'm past wherever you think I am.
Moving on.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. So we had the massive dudes, and then we went from that kind of 80s thing to the 90s, where we had your kind of Keanu's, Patrick Swayze. Like we went to more of a kind of looks like a normal dude type action hero, speed and stuff like that.
Your everyday man.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels to me like we've gone kind of back to the 80s in the last few years with your kind of Rocks, Vin Diesels.
I was going to say that might be more to do with the Marvel.
Possibly.
Because like all they need to do is get every one of their people jacked, and it's like that's a superhero.
That's true. But then I also that's why I think now we're going to kind of go back into the same kind of cycle, and I think we're going to start moving towards more of the kind of everyman, £170 rather than like £250 dudes doing these kind of action
What
roles.
if it was Seth Rogen?
I mean,
That's not one of my choices.
I'd really
by
like
the way.
that too. All joking aside,
Imagine Seth Rogen in this.
I would
film.
love that shit. Especially if he didn't do the Chris Pratt and got like Jack.
Oh no, yeah, I'd want him to see him.
I want
as
to
he
say
is
like
now.
as a yeah.
What about Jonah Hill from War Dogs, like that kind of big?
Okay.
Just running through people.
Okay. Just the running would be interesting enough. I mean, I'd feel like the slow mo would be like a sight to behold.
Especially that bit where they fall out the.
Oh
the
yeah,
building.
it'd be much easier to track what was going on as well. Because we were watching sometimes, we were like, "Who's who? What's what?" Just a bunch of like
Oh yeah,
skinny
how
dudes
do you
in
find
brown.
a stunt trainer?
You can
like
find
that?
Jonah Hill. Well, I imagine they'd just like strap a couple of pillows to him or something, like half-ass the job.
Yeah, just some big green pillows strapped to him so they can.
Plus,
get
there
it
was
out.
that dude who always used to fight Bruce Lee in films who was just straight up like, fat, but also like an incredible martial artist. So, they're out there, these people. It's just, everyone has their own natural sizes or whatever.
Jackie Chan is such
Let's
a
get
fat
all
bitch.
positive and like, post Weight Watchers. But yeah, that was my first pick, is JGL. And
Okay.
it'll kind of semi-follow a theme, but yeah, I'll leave the next one to you.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep it to recast and stuff, and not to follow the Chris train here, and also not to keep talking about Knives Out. But I really liked Chris Evans in that role, which is why I definitely want you to see it, because obviously we've seen him as like Captain America for like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like, do something different. He nailed it with that, and I'd love to see him nail this.
Yeah.
'Cause even though it's more actiony stuff again, I feel like he could just bring something different to the Captain American figure that we saw, and just kind of just do something different with it. I just want to see him do different things now.
Have you seen
which is-
Snowpiercer?
No, I've always wanted to watch it, so that's definitely on my radar of things to do.
That's one I'd just definitely suggest. It's a Bong Joon-ho action film. It's all set on a train. It's kind of future
Sorry,
post-apocalypse.
speaking of trains,
Yep.
mad news. It's probably out anyway. Train to Busan sequel.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen? Oh, you don't watch trains. But
Oh yeah. Is the trailer out?
yeah.
Okay.
It looks sick. I
Okay.
can't wait for that.
When's
film.
it actually meant to come out?
I don't know. But
What can we do?
yeah, no, I saw the trailer. Real hyped for it.
Yeah.
Will it be out?
Oh, we did that on like our earlier podcast.
I think that was the
Tripod
first ever
Talk.
film we watched for the
Yeah.
Tripod Talk.
God damn, that goes back.
Yeah.
We'll link it in the description. Listen to like teenagers.
We weren't teenagers, only a couple of years ago. It's fine.
I have no track of time anymore. I might be a teenager now.
You're definitely not.
No, I've got 3 actors and 3 replacements. By the way, is that the way you've
Yeah,
done it?
that's how I've done.
Great.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm
Okay.
actually prepared for once, kind of.
Kind of. Cool.
But yeah, first pick Chris Evans in that one
That would be great.
because I want to see him do new things.
Yep.
Also,
Cool.
I don't want to see him go into retirement because he kept talking about how he's going to stop doing films and become a director, and it's like, no, you've got more to give.
Yeah.
Give it.
Yeah.
I want it.
It definitely seems to be the trend now, kind of the Jason Bateman type. Like that's the way to go. Is just be a producer first, act and everything, and then slowly just take more and more control until you've got your own thing. Do
Drew
that, Chris
Barrymore's
Evans.
done that quite well
Yeah,
recently. And
that's true.
Like, she's still sticking about.
Thingy, Reese Witherspoon set up her own company. Brad Pitt's got his company, so there is definitely
yeah,
a movement.
she's in some Amazon thing, isn't she? That looks all right as well.
I'm not sure about Reese Witherspoon. There's like,
It's like some
little
liar
big lies or
thing?
something.
Yeah, something to do with lies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. We're not the demo they're looking for, to be honest.
Could be.
Definitely not. Not from what I know about it.
I definitely wasn't the demo for Dead to Me, but I tell you what, loved that.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Bring season 3.
Cool.
Also, wait, there was a Chris in that. Was there? No, there was James Marsden. Anyway,
Oh yeah,
sorry, you're number 2.
they're all. He could easily be a Chris. By the way, you could just stick him
Yeah,
into the battle of the Chris's and no one would notice.
He's
All
an
right.
honorary Chris.
My number 2. I'm gonna go for a name you're probably not gonna know, but it might. For people who do know him, it's gonna be like a thing where it's my name is Jimmy Simpson. So for anyone who doesn't know him, he was in House of Cards for a bit. He's Liam McPoyle from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He was on House for a really memorable episode.
Okay.
And he played Lyle the intern on David Letterman. You can give him a Google if you want to, Matt, just while I talk about him. But basically,
What's
is
his name again, sorry?
Jimmy Simpson. Jimmy with an I at the end.
Simpson, as in...
Yeah, like The Simpsons,
Yes.
which I was watching last night. And just honestly, the Kate Fair episode.
We don't have any internet.
Oh, yeah. Use your phone, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've not got the Wi-Fi set up in the office, so this is part of why the technical it's kind of amazing we're actually still here. So yeah, Jimmy Simpson's one of these guys who he does drama and comedy really, really well. You can see that from the Always Sunny versus the
I
House
like an
episode.
underrated guy. Yeah.
He's kind of I saw him in House of Cards. He kind of played like a bit of a kind of charming dude, and that was a massive like difference from everything else he'd done before. That just made me see him in a whole new light, and I was like, okay, this is another one of these dudes who just needs somebody to give him kind of a big enough role. He definitely has the kind of interesting acting chops. In House, he plays a alcoholic priest who has all of that stuff going on and is like very kind of smart because he's having these theological debates with House when no one really talks to House.
Okay.
So he's one of these people who I think could kind of do with a bit more attention.
Yeah, because he's been about, because I recognise the face.
And if you look through his IMDb, he's pretty much been in every TV show you know. And like, if you saw him in, he does change quite a lot in stuff. So if you saw him in like
He's
three
like
different
a Christian
roles,
Bale type.
not that much, because it'll just be like he'll be scruffy in one and in like a nice suit in the other, but as in like
Okay.
unrecognizable between those two.
Okay.
So he's someone who just bring a bit of a higher profile to him, and I think he could be a good action star too, in terms of a more of a kind of like slim, athletic kind of thinking on your feet. The cerebral action star that we got for in the 90s, as opposed to just the big, the big destroy buildings and aliens fellas we had in the 80s.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of underrated characters,
Oh, I like this.
actors,
I
sorry.
like this.
I've always been a big fan of him. I'd love to see him kind of get into more of his own franchise thing. Kind of, let's say, obviously Evans has had his own franchise. Oh no, we were talking about Joseph Gordon-Levitt about his own franchise.
That was
thing.
before, yeah.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Oh, I like this. Sneaky
Yeah,
Pete.
Sneaky Pete. Been in a lot, like not really properly starring, like lead starring, apart from Sneaky Pete. But I feel like it's his time eventually to kind of be the big lead of like this big Netflix or Hollywood thing at some point.
Yeah.
And again, I'd love to see like an unhingedness in his eyes,
Yeah.
because I feel like he could play the tragic backstory really well.
Definitely.
Into the character of what's his name in Extraction?
I have no idea. No clue. Extract worth.
That's the name of the video.
That's the
Extract.
Extract worth. That's our new film where we try and rescue the Hemsworth brothers from
Each other.
yeah, someone stole them.
Wait, that could be. Oh no, never mind. I'm gonna leave that. But Ribisi, yeah. I feel like it's his time to finally do something big.
Yep.
And something like this, or any sort of big Netflix project. I feel like he could be the figurehead to kind of go into a new phase of his. Because I haven't really seen him in much recently.
No, yeah,
He was
in
like
Saving
in
Private
Ted,
Ryan.
and then he was in he was kind of big a couple of years ago, and he's stuck about for a long time, but he's never really had anything properly of his own.
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of see him take the helm of something.
Yeah, and again, he's one of those kind of smaller guys, crafty. He usually kind of plays a little bit of a slimy, but always kind of tends to be very intelligent people, which again is kind of, that would kind of, to my mind, this would move it into more of a kind of MacGyver-y type, him operating using his brain behind rather than pure force, but that could be really interesting.
Sorry, I've just had a really awesome thought to do with Giovanni Ribisi.
Go on.
What if he was some sort of Moriarty-ish character in the John Wick series?
Oh, he'd be a great John Wick villain.
Yeah.
He would be really, really
He
good.
really would, wouldn't he?
Oh my god, we're so good at this.
We need to at Giovanni Ribisi
I
to
know.
like get Keanu Reeves
gonna
up
add
and be
the
like,
direct-
make this.
Make this happen. You
What
saw the
was
story
idea
recently.
He came up with it was on a podcast something, and I really wanted to see the film. It was like a mixture of two things that I've always like. It was like a Hot Fuzz and was it Hot Fuzz and
Yeah.
the Keanu thingy? I can't-
My memory is we all.
The film I was just talking about John Wick. Hot
John
Fuzz
Wick.
and John Wick.
Hot Wick.
Combined. Hot Wick.
I don't feel like it was.
Candle Wick.
Hot Wick. John Foz. John Foz. That just sounds
his
like an
porn
English
name.
copper.
Oh, is
John
it?
Foz.
Oh, no,
Johnny
I
Fuzz.
immediately went dirty on that.
I know. I
Sorry.
tried to stay.
Sorry for the lack of decorum.
I know. Okay, no, Ribisi's a great pick. I like that one too. I like the direction we're going with this too.
Okay, I
So-
don't think you're gonna like my last one.
I think you might like my last one,
Oh.
and I think this would probably be the guy I'd go for. Maybe JJL, but actually maybe this guy. My last pick is going to be Zach Braff.
Oh,
Because I was going.
Oh.
What could be a good what different version of an action star do I want to do? What's interesting? We've kind of already talked about it before, I suppose. But again, what Zach Braff has a lot for me is one is just kind of pure likability. Like you want to watch him, you want to follow him on the screen. So that's route one. That's really valuable, like in a movie star. And then route like the second aspect is the kind of more of the kind of emotional depth he can kind of do, and stuff we've seen in Garden State and things like that. So I think that could kind of be a really good balance that between the pure, like, when he's in the action, he'd just be frenetic pace. Like, he's also, he's in good enough shape. He's that right kind of age. So I could see him kind of, grow a bit of a kind of rough beard and try and do the kind of guy past his luck thing, because he can definitely do that. And then
he'd be another great guy to kind of have another string of success after, like, being big on Scrubs and stuff, and kind of doing his own thing in between now and then. But, like, I feel like he could genuinely have another great second surge.
If he personally had different sensibilities, it could have happened. I just think his own, because he's made his own films, Garden State, and the one he did after that, which I'm blanking on the title of. Something like they'll never, like, We Will Really Be Here or some stuff like that. But I think if he wanted to go down the kind of corporate machine angle, it could have been a very different career for him.
Yeah.
But I also I was trying to work out, like, who would I want to watch in this film more than Chris Hemsworth? And Zach Braff was just like, when he occurred to me, I was like, wow, that's kind of out there. And then I was like, I think I would love it though. So yeah, between JGL and Zach Braff are my actual top two, but. Okay. I like the idea of making Jack like a kind of an actor like Zach Braff, because he's basically like Michael J. Fox, like TV sitcom kind of Michael J. Fox from the biggest sitcom in the world when he did Back to the Future, when he became like a comedy action type thing. So if it was going to happen for Zach Braff, it would have happened probably 5-10 years ago. But it's a nice alternate universe to imagine.
How old is he?
I reckon kind of mid-40s.
I was going to say, I reckon he could get something like 50 and then, like, keep it going. Kind of like Neeson did.
I was going to say, like, I could see him doing like an American Neeson, but I don't know. It wouldn't be the menace. Maybe it'd be a bit more of a kind of charitable type, like, old, like, he goes around helping people. Some kind of, like, old American Robin Hood. But I mean, like, I just don't see. I'm trying to imagine what franchise would work for him.
Yeah, no.
I could write it. We could do that. Just have Zach Braff go around, like, saving black children and stuff, and people would love that shit.
Right, okay, I'm going to get to the last one. I did have a guy originally, and then I thought of a girl, and then it was really weird because I came up with this, nothing to do with what you said, but it's his girlfriend, Florence Pugh.
Oh, is that Zach Braff's girl? Okay,
yeah,
I'm not good on Hollywood gossip, but that's interesting.
I
was going to say big age difference, girl. Not happy. Not happy.
I'm more not happy with Zach Braff, but I mean, good for him.
I was going to say,
good for him.
We're both men here.
But yeah, I was kind of thinking, like, I'll tell you the guy in a minute, but I was kind of thinking of her and her coming up as an action star, and I thought that'd be really fucking cool for her to kind of do.
You're very high on Florence Pugh, I know, so this will come to bear fruit, I think.
Yeah, I reckon she's going to be like, I reckon she'll be this big say.
The next Saoirse Ronan.
No.
Okay.
Jennifer Lawrence.
You think she's going to be like, because Jennifer Lawrence involves the kind of, that's actually an interesting two people to discuss, because the only thing Jennifer Lawrence has over Saoirse Ronan is kind of, I think, a bit more of a kind of public. She kind of hit the mainstream in a bigger way.
Yeah.
So it depends whether you think Florence Pugh is going to kind of do that. Like, do you think she's going to become a household name? Or do you think she's going to continue as kind of the very well-respected actress?
I think that's going to be like a middle ground. I feel like she's going to get closer to Jennifer than Saoirse. Okay. Even though I'd probably say she's a better actress than Jennifer Lawrence, but the whole popularity.
I think it's a weird one with Jennifer Lawrence, because she's kind of. But anyway, yeah. So we trot all over our nice segue.
Speaking of segues.
Yeah. Speaking of segues, let's move on.
Okay. So we're going to go into the replacements part of what we usually. Oh, sorry, the thing just popped out my head. It sounds really weird. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we do things where this is a great introduction. Sorry, character replacements where we take existing characters from other films and put them into the role of that character, and we'd like to see how that film would play out. Sometimes we come up with really good ones. Sometimes we come up with crazy ones.
Yeah, sometimes we take the piss.
I've got 2 crazy ones.
Oh, that's quite a few.
Yeah,
I've kind of gone a little. I've kind of gone a little bit more down the line, because I was just thinking about, like, again, the kind of how to make this kind of lone mercenary film universe a bit more interesting, and I've kind of used my characters to do that, I think.
I've definitely done that. Though, we did have, I can't remember if we made it an official rule or not, where it was like other characters that are also in similar films, where it was like the enemy behind, like behind enemy lines sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we did, to be fair, no.
Okay, good, because I haven't done that.
No, neither have I.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Second.
I did the first actor, so you do the first character.
I get to go first. All right. Okay, so speaking of Hugh Jackman, that would have been a good segue.
Okay, Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine. Yeah, I feel like he'd absolutely tear wherever they were in. Where were they? India.
Yeah. No. I can't remember where either. We watched it like a week ago, and we're both just blanking in a big way.
It could have
right
been a
now.
month ago, to be fair.
Oh yeah, there's no track of time. We promised we watched it though.
Yeah, no, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about specific stuff that was in the film. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm struggling to remember. Was it like Libya or something? No, wait, now I'm thinking about 13 hours in Benghazi. Anyway, whatever. It was somewhere in the Middle East. Some stuff happened. He was trying not to die.
But Wolverine, you drop that son of a bitch in, he's
That's
killing
true.
everyone. That kid's getting out untouched.
Also, think about X-Men First Class. Like, that's already in his kind of origin story, isn't it? Like, that him and his brother worked for the military.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that fits in very well, Wolverine. I like that.
Plus, I'd love to see, like, some sort, because we were talking about long shots as well. I'd love to see a genuine long shot of him just tearing through everyone
That'd
in
be
that
interesting.
city.
That'd be funny.
Like, running through walls, grabbing the kid whilst also slashing everyone as he's running past.
Mm-hmm.
I think the film would be over in 20 minutes, and I think it'd be great.
It would be better if it was over in 20 minutes. I'll give you that. The only thing that we've
That's
never,
an alright run time.
yeah, it wasn't too bad. The only point I would make, and we've never made this point before, but I've just considered it now, is that with Wolverine and Logan, the film, I think that had such a good, honestly, like one of the best ever bows wrapped on a character ever, that I would be livid if he came back in any respect. Like, I just think,
As Hugh Jackman or as a different iteration?
I suppose as
Because it's happening.
he's coming back in as Wolverine.
No, he's
in a
not.
different
Like,
film.
Wolverine, the character, will be
Oh, well,
coming
that's
back in
just
the Marvel films.
Like, I was going to say, that's just that universe being trash people who just do anything to make money. Like, it's not going to be
you
good.
leave it.
I'm not happy about it. They should, like, honestly, when you do such a good ending for something like that, like, it's so hard to like really stick a landing on a character, especially one that people have known for as long as Wolverine. And Logan just did such a good job that I was just like, nothing's a better sign to just leave him buried.
Yeah. Then again,
But again,
I obviously I'm a fan of
Marvel.
Marvel and the different iterations that it has on its characters and stuff. But also, like, just in terms of that specific version of Wolverine, he only had 2 good films, really, and Logan was one of them.
yeah, I think it's more that Jackman was so iconic as Wolverine. Like, it's one of the first real tie-ins between, like, an actor and a comic book character, like kind of the Tony Stark.
First, I think.
Yeah,
'cause
that
it was,
really
it was out
became-
before Spider-Man.
Yeah, that became that, like, entrenched into kind of just the culture that, you know, you picture Hugh Jackman, you picture and all that kind of shit. Some long ass sideburns.
Oh yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
The hair. But yeah, Wolverine would be my first pick.
Okay, my first pick I'm going to give you, it's a film I've talked about loads to you, and I think it's clear that I'm just, like, gradually trying to, like, passive-aggressively make you watch it.
Sorry.
But it's a film called The Guest. It's a film I've talked to you about. Basically, I've kind of got to get a little bit into the concept behind the film, but without being spoilery. It's to do with a kind of, something to do with, like, you know, the kind of engineered super soldier type conceit where the government's kind of making these kind of engineering these soldiers to be ridiculous. Basically, it's one of those broken loose, and he goes to his ex buddy at war, like his family's house. So I just think that the way that film's shot and the way it deals with all the kind of action and the violent scenes is really, really cool, and like it's a lot to do with the kind of music and just a kind of real sense of, like, kind of smoke and vibe and location. So I just think if that film's action, like, setups had been done in Extraction, it just would have been much more of a, like, kind of a really cool spectacle, with the use of the music and the locations being more interesting. And then I like the whole super soldier breaking free from the military, going for his own justice type concept. So I just think that would have just made this film more interesting, and also more justifiable that he's not dead within 10 minutes because he's got an entire city trying to kill him.
See, that's interesting, because I thought you'd try and steer away from, like, I suppose he's not this archetypal of character, but a superhero in a sense.
I think it's more that, well, he isn't a superhero. He's kind of a villain. He's kind of lost. He's a little bit of a monster. Like, you can tell he's lost.
Has he got superpowers, though?
No, it's
okay.
it's more like, well, it's not superpowers. It's like he was already a very good soldier, and they've taken away things that would interfere with that make him kind of human.
Okay.
And then he's obviously enhanced in some ways, but it's not like, you know, he's not jumping up to third floor buildings and stuff. He's just running a long time and very good at shooting. But, you know, that's just a soldier. So I just like the idea of kind of meshing those two concepts together.
Okay.
And, you know, people watch The Guest. Like, it's really cool. It's kind of, like I was saying, one of those
watch it.
What the fuck is
I
I'm staring
haven't
at the
watched
wrong
it. I
thing.
don't
No, I know. I'll get Matt to watch it. I should recommend
Yeah.
it for this episode. Really,
Yeah, I'll
but-
come around this week and watch it.
But yeah, exactly. But that's that. Like again, I just think that's a much more kind of interesting film, and stylistically, the meshing of those kind of, it's more of a kind of route one way it's visualized in this film, and just having a little bit more messing around with light and shadows and like smoke and stuff like that could have just made it look way cooler.
Okay.
It's a little bit like a kind of Wick thing that they do, but not quite as obvious.
Bit more like Mandy.
Yeah, well, not at all. We're not talking about that film. What a waste of everyone's time that was.
Yeah.
We need to do like again another 6-hour episode is going to be our like the Community episode. Is Nicolas Cage good? We're both going to gradually lose our
Oh, we should do that. We should just
Watch everything.
Nothing to do with this. We should sit down and just have this topic that we need to come up with an answer with by the end of it, and we don't stop.
We can't leave.
We don't stop recording
Can't eat.
until
shit. We've got an answer
Yeah.
because there's certain stuff we'd never agree on too.
Ah.
Like again, a lot of that kind of bigger cultural stuff to do with cinema, like me and you and the kind of Marvel v independent cinema thing. That got like if we had one of those kind of discussions, we'd never leave. We never leave. We'd both just die of starvation. But you know, I imagine it'd be great entertainment. So
For
you know,
us,
we'll put it on
everyone
the
else
line.
would hate it.
Everyone else would hate it, but you know. Yeah, right. Go on then. Give me
Speaking
your number
of
two.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
nothing to do.
I was gonna say, what's the
I
second?
was just hyped.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine you're a kid all alone, and you need every sort of protection that you can in this situation. Who do you
I'm
want by
leaning
your
forward.
side?
I'm leaning forward.
Harry Potter.
Oh my god! Wow, it's a crazy time to bring up Harry Potter 2 with J.K. Rowling just putting a foot in it again. But we don't have to get into that.
I heard something about it.
She's an idiot.
Yeah.
She just, no one needed her to say anything, and she was just like, you know what? I'm going to be transphobic.
I'm
for
gonna
a bit.
say it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say the bad thing.
Yeah, just unnecessary. But no, Harry Potter. Tell me why.
Yeah, I'm thinking more from the last film, you know, kind of always on the run sort of thing. So I feel like
Guerrilla power.
actually, if anything, Hermione Granger.
Oh, that would be better. To be
That'd be
fair.
better because she'd be a lot better than Harry Potter.
Well, which one do you pick, Harry or Hermione?
Probably Hermione because she's better.
She is better.
She's much better.
Also. Yeah, but anyway.
Anytime, any place. Anyway, yeah, like she'd be able to kind of protect them. She can go invisible. She can pretty much do what she wants.
That's true. I
So-
forgot about the cloak. Hermione's a good pick.
Plus,
she's also
I'd
very
love to
moral,
see the
kind of-
contrast things because it's like, well, obviously you always see magic versus magic, so it's like imagine magic versus Muggle stuff.
I think
and,
I was
like,
gonna say,
weapons
and it's
guns.
really-
It's
I
like,
think-
how would you tactically do that as a wizard or a witch? So it's just an interesting combination of the two things.
Picking Hermione's a really good deal there as well, especially with her background, with the fact that she had both Muggle parents, and she's obviously kind of the moral and ethical kind of yardstick during the series. So then throwing her into the normal world and being like, look, you've got to survive. You can do magic, but how much do you do magic in order to do so? Does she let any civilians see? Which because she has to.
I know the easiest answer for that.
What?
You just use the Polyjuice potion.
I know, but this is the problem. Is the problem with all of these
then there's
magic
no
chat
film.
things? Is I was going to say they've all got these Deus Ex things where you've just got to ignore them because
Yeah.
it's like, why didn't Harry fix his eyesight?
That's the
First thing I would have done. In contacts and glasses every day. I'd be like stare. I'd be like, you know, actually, I don't want to get into why, but yeah. My next person. Just least smooth segue there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide which pick I'm going to do next. I'll do my semi-serious one, and I'll save my jokey one for the last.
Okay, because yeah.
So my semi-serious one is Rama from The Raid, who, again, I'm not sure if
okay.
you've seen these films. The Raid's
No, I
basically
still need
Dread.
to see them, but is he the main character?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a
So I know
very,
what he's about.
very advanced martial arts, an Indonesian guy. They get trapped inside a building, and he's got to fight and shoot his way out, even though the building's entirely owned by this gang. But basically, when I was talking before about my kind of universe where the government wouldn't use Americans, they'd use people from other nationalities to be more deniable in these operations. Like, this is kind of where I was thinking about this crossing it over, where the US government's using, like, you know, Thai and Indonesian criminals and kingpins and stuff to do dirty operations. And then, you know, you've got Rama fighting with the villains of the actual area, but they have to work side by side for the government to do these things because the US government has kind of blackmailed them or whatever, and then they go back to their town and they're back to being villains and none of their crew knows and all of it. But I just think that makes it kind of much more of an interesting kind of universe. That's the way I would kind of franchise it, would be having these kind of, you know, have it be set simultaneously in like a kind of Thai underworld type thing, and also just the most kind of hectic war zones in the world where the US government's like, right, we're fucked. We need we need some tiny little shifty Thai guys to go in and just twat everyone. So Rama from the Raid in this film universe with some kind of oversight powers, and I imagine he could kind of call home. He's got to connect. He's got that kind of Barbara Gordon voice on the phone, who's some American. We get into some cultural stuff about them kind of moving towards each other and learning, and it's like, oh, there's a film.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my second version of this kind of film with Rama from the Raid.
I like that. Yeah. Also, I think I need to fully appreciate that pick by watching The Raid.
Yeah.
But I appreciate where you're going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my last pick.
Last pick.
You're gonna hate this.
Okay.
I gotta try and think of a good one.
I'm trying to think of what you think I'm going to hate.
What do you think it's gonna be?
Um,
It's not anything superhero.
okay. For Extraction, I honestly don't know what you can do.
Okay, so
I'm a little scared
there's
you
one
picked
character where they always have to go behind enemy lines, either and they don't fit into
Rambo.
that world. No,
Okay, that would have been.
they
I
don't
wanna
fit
hate
into that world. They've always got to be adapting to whatever challenges comes their way. They're always outpowered, outnumbered, out whatever, but they always succeed. And that's Woody from Toy Story.
Oh my god.
So if he can find, or maybe even Buzz from the second film, but like he,
I thought I'd taken the most liberties with this game, but I've just been blown out the water.
I wanted this to be different.
No, go for
But
it.
maybe even Woody or Buzz.
Does Woody murder in this universe?
Uh,
Does Woody does he have like? Because I'm just imagining him with like a tiny little lasso and like, you know, like tripping people and then just stabbing him 85 times because he's so tiny, or is he human sized?
Well, that's the thing. I imagined a terrifying version of him. It's like 6'5",
Jesus
taking on all
Christ.
these. But imagine the kind of things that he could do. Like he uses his lasso to kind of get people in, crank them in. I'm thinking like a John Wick version of
It's
Woody.
just it's like sick Indiana Jones.
Yeah, using the hat to
Yeah,
decapitate
exactly.
people.
You know, like Peaky Blinders, they've got like razors in the hat. Like Indiana Jones has just got like a razor lined hat and he just
Yeah.
like boomerangs it at people. So
There's
much
a
money.
bazooka in my boot.
So much money. God, that'd be good shit.
I know, and he'd always be like
Throwing knives.
optimistic about it and stuff. And
Oh,
the
do you know, like,
kid's
he's got
always
the-
just terrified, so he's like, I'm
You know, he's got
gonna
the
follow
boots
you.
with the little stars.
Yeah,
They're definitely throwing knives. I mean,
Yeah.
throwing stars.
yeah.
Shriek.
And they always replenish.
Yeah, they just reappear because he's a toy. It's magic. God, that'd
Exactly.
be great.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, I
I'm
did
definitely down
hate
for
it, but
this.
it's a good idea.
What else would he do? I'm trying to think what else he would actually do.
Well, he's also got a good, loyal squad behind him, and they've all got different abilities. You need to save some money. You've got the piggy bank. You need,
You need to do stealth stuff. You get the potato.
yeah, you need to phone into
different
work and
looks.
pretend you're sick. You've got Wheezy.
You've got all the army guys, so
Yeah,
you've got
that's
an
true.
army with you.
Yeah.
There's no stopping him.
You got Buzz if you need to, you know, break through the atmosphere. He can go to space, right?
Go to infinity and
He
beyond.
goes infinity and beyond, exactly. My last pick's a litlittle bit kind of out there as well. Not anywhere near the same degree
Okay.
that is. My last pick is Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. Because basically I wanted to go with the angle of just the everyday, like Shaun might be the best everyman in cinema. Like he's just a dude.
Now there's
I know.
Write that down.
And if he
We
just
need to make
woke
a
up,
video about that.
if he just woke up, that just occurred to me.
Yeah.
If he just woke up, he's in that situation. What he does during the film is he kind of develops like as a person, but also he builds a team. He like learns to work with people who he doesn't get on with clearly, like David. He's clearly kind of got the leader mentality, but just generally, I think what he does well in that film is think on his feet, kind of deal with, you know, real emotional, just his mom dies in the middle and he just has to pull, like, you know, I said, just go on. His best mate dies, like everything emotional that could have gone bad almost does in that film, and Shaun just keeps pulling himself together. And then
Now there's the tragic backstory within the film.
I know.
Oh yeah. Wait. So how would you do it? Would you put Shaun in Mumbai? I'm gonna say. It
Well,
could be
I would say
somewhere else in there.
maybe it becomes a bit like The Hangover then, where he just wakes up there and he's just got a deal. But that was how I pictured it, was just floating fish out of the water. Like Shaun wakes up, he's just like,
Oh
what
wait,
the-
hang on, I've got the thing for this already. So we put Chris Hemsworth's character in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just all that bit, and the first shot that happens, Chris Hemsworth dies, and he falls over into Shaun. Shaun's like, "What the fuck?"
just
is going
drops like the whatever the intelligence is or whatever, and it just says on the front like "Get to U.S. Embassy," and Shaun just like, huh? Oh,
He
okay.
downs his pint. He's like, "Come on,
Let's
kid.
go, lads. We're off.
Oh, what a film!
Yeah, that would be good shit. Also, just I think the kind of Englishman abroad being, the kind of what our reputation is like as tourists and
His
stuff like
biggest
that.
enemy is the sun.
Yeah, exactly, and just being obnoxious at like like a bar, just like singing like 4 lines at 1 a.m. and shit. Like I just think we could really take the piss a lot as well with those kind of cliches. But yeah, the Shaun from Shaun of the Dead in Extraction. He's going to have to just work all this shit out. To be fair, a lot of Extraction as well. He's not even that, like... It's not like it's organised super soldiering. He's just reacting to chaos. So Sean can react to chaos just as well as the Hemsworth.
Though
He's
I
just
must
rolling
admit,
out
I'd
windows
prefer
and
to
shit.
have Nicholas Angel as a
Well, I
Simon
thought about
Pegg
that,
character.
but then I was like...
Oh, your film would be more fun.
I think Sean
Yeah.
Torrey, yeah. And also, I feel like I've used Nicholas Angel. I'm trying to like resist because I thought about Scott Pilgrim first. As soon as we talked about this idea, I said Scott Pilgrim because we both had first names, and you were like, "Oh, that's good." But then I was like, I can't just do an Edgar Wright thing every week because we've mentioned Nicolas Cage every week.
Also, we want to.
That's our goal. Is we just want Edgar Wright to know.
Yeah, no, we want to interview him.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
We've talked about this. We want to interview.
That's
so
the goal.
We'll
when the
mention
world
him
opens.
Yeah,
exactly. We'll cut together like a trailer then.
Yeah.
Of like us talking about Edgar Wright over weeks, and either he'll get like an injunction, or he'll be like, "Oh, bless these kids.
Yeah.
Let's give him an interview."
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
And also, can we be in your next film?
Yeah, exactly. That's
I'll
true.
do whatever.
I'll do whatever. I'll do more. I'll do stunts. I'll fall out of windows. Whatever it takes, dude. I don't give.
My thing went out again. I need to stop getting so excited.
That's damn. Have yours stopped recording?
No, I'm fine now.
Okay, cool.
It's just the visual is going
But
to
no,
be
like,
all over the place.
yeah.
My bad, guys. My bad. I didn't mean for this to happen.
So those are our teams. Mine's, or those are our suggestions. So I'll do all of mine actually together because I've got them
we
written
were
down.
doing them as a team.
Yeah, I like the idea of writing them down as a team just because it's funnier. So my 3 actors were Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Zach Braff, and Jimmy Simpson. And my 3 character replacements were Rama from The Raid, Sean from Shaun of the Dead, and David from The Guest.
Okay.
I had a few more in mind, but I think I'm very happy with those kind of top 3s.
So my top 3 recasts I'm going to go with were Chris Evans, Giovanni Ribisi, and Florence Pugh.
Very nice.
And the replacements are Wolverine, Hermione Granger, and Woody from Toy Story.
Dang. I like what we've done with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll keep kind of playing these games.
And we'll get the visual right at some point. It's all just a work in progress.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
cool.
We're having a
tell
go.
your friends about us. We're
Yeah,
great.
we're open to suggestions. Let us know anything you think that can make us a little bit better.
Also, I want to get like a neon sign here.
Yeah, I need some stuff behind me there to try and make me look highbrow. I'm thinking books. I might get like a pipe, like one of those like Sherlock Holmes hats.
Oh,
Whatever.
yeah.
I just want to look clever.
We could just get film props.
That's true.
Or like film
Should we
replica
buy it?
stuff.
I'm just gonna get a briefcase. Should we get a briefcase and just like
Each.
we'll just put our lights inside the briefcase. We just got one behind.
Yeah.
Stuff them with snacks, really. But
Stuff them with snacks.
I know. Now all we've got to do this week is do the recommendation, which we alternate, so it's my week to do it, right?
Yes.
And I've decided to give you some choices because mine are kind of a little bit weird, but it's kind of 3 films I've actually seen before, just not for a long time. And then I'll give
Wait,
you
all of them are?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you the categories as well. One of which I'll give you them in like so the
Stop
film
teasing me, boy.
the film I remember the least is Scarface, and I thought we could do Scarface.
Okay, I've not seen that. I've always wanted to see it. Yeah.
I also just think I've watched a lot of those kind of 70s gangstery type films, and I think that's one of the ones that doesn't, to my mind, it doesn't hold up as
Scarface
well
70s?
as some of the other. It might be like kind of early 80s.
I thought it was 90s.
No, it won't be 90s. Let me have a quick check, because it was still kind of classic Pacino, and that kind of combination of 1983.
Ah, damn.
Yeah,
Same
and they're
year
rebooting it
as-
as well, which I'm not happy about.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought Scarface is one of those that I considered, because there's other films like I like more from that time, like Dog Day Afternoon and Serpico and stuff like that. But Scarface is one I thought might be a more interesting conversation for us to kind of get through.
Okay.
Then my next one is A History of Violence, which is a Viggo Mortensen film where William Hurt played. I think he had 8 to 12 minutes on screen and got an Oscar nomination for it.
Oh, shit.
Basically, it's to do with it's a secret identity film was the category I was going to call it. But basically, in that
I
film,
do like the secret identity.
he's a shopkeeper in a town, or not shopkeeper. He has a little like restaurant, and then some dude show up from like a kind of Detroit mob, and they're like, "You need to come back." And he's saying, "I don't know who any of you are." They're convinced he was in their mob and he's disappeared, ran off to here. So it's about, is he actually the guy they think they are? What's he gonna do? It's kind of a lot to do with like a family thing, and his wife's Maria Bello plays his wife, and it's kind of a very good relationship there. Viggo Mortensen is just amazingly good in everything, Eastern Promises, stuff like that, and that's a film where he got some acclaim, but I think especially the fact that William Hurt got an Oscar nomination with that little on-screen time. He just comes in at the end and plays his brother, makes it kind of interesting, and that's like a separate discussion point. Is Oscars given to people with very little actual kind of time? You know, the Silence of the Lambs type discussion with Hannibal Lecter. And my last option for you, probably the film I like the most of these three, is a film called In the Name of the Father. It's a Daniel Day-Lewis film. It's about real people, a father and son. Pete Postlethwaite plays his dad, and basically he was just kind of a little bit of a hoodlum, went around and caused some trouble. But basically, the IRA did a bombing. He was taken in by the police. They tortured him for like 9 days, forced a confession out of him. Him and his dad end up in jail. His dad dies in jail. Daniel Day-Lewis plays the son, and it's an incredible like performance.
Spoilers.
Well, it's a real thing that happened. But yeah, I suppose that's technically true. Once you see his dad, you'll realise he was always going to die. And we can bleep it out. But that and just kind of, then we can talk about maybe films to do with like real life crimes or kind of historic events and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Scarface, History of Violence, In the Name of the Father.
Okay. I'm going to choose, because it's one I've always wanted to watch, Scarface.
Yep. I figured you would. I'm going to give you less options down the line. I'm going to just start making you watch the kind of stuff I think is interesting. But eventually...
Well, that's the kind of point. So you can kind of choose to veto that if you want. Just tell me what we're
No, I think Scarface, to be fair, is a good one to just have that general discussion too.
Okay.
Because as well, it's a Brian De Palma thing, and it's how well it kind of hold up. Part of me wanted to do Dog Day Afternoon, because as well it gets into a lot more kind of interesting thematic stuff. You've got John Cazale in that too. But we'll see. If we can't find Scarface, maybe we'll do one of the other ones. But we'll find it. And then we can just talk about that kind of
probably got DVD somewhere.
It's late 70s, 80s kind of era of that kind of gangstery type films.
Cool.
What a lot of people think the kind of heyday of cinema is. And we'll probably just try and I'll end up just raving about everyone. And we'll come up with some kind of new features for the games for next week.
Yes. Okay, cool. I'm excited.
So to be fair, just guessing right now, actually, I imagine we'll end up recasting Al Pacino. Maybe... the main female lead, but probably just Al Pacino. And then we'll end up doing a character replacement for maybe Al Pacino's character. Maybe we'll pick some other characters in it. But those are kind of going to be the two. Like, that's the structure we're picturing right now. Is we come in, we kind of do a bit of news for people.
Yeah.
Talk about the film, and then we'll do those two games, and then we'll have the recommendation for the next week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sound.
Nice. So yeah, we'll watch Scarface this week. We'll be back next week with our kind of thoughts on it, and we'll have a bit more of a general talk about that.
You watch it as well, so if you've not watched it before, watch it, because that's going to be the first time for me. If you've seen it before, just give it another watch.
Yeah, I think it's one of those
Get used to
that
it.
fill it. A lot of this for us as well is kind of filling in gaps in kind of, because there's just so much stuff out there. Everyone's got those gaps in film history that they're like, I can't believe I haven't watched this. And we can also kind of use these to kind of fill in those gaps for us too.
Also, I was going to say, for the movie review stuff, do you want to bring... Well, I don't know why I'm bringing it up now. I was going to say we could maybe bring up the 10-star movie review or the 5-star movie review we used to do.
Possibly, yeah. Just
Start
as a structure.
If we don't, I'll cut this out.
Yeah. Either way, we'll try it out. We're still trying it out. We're feeling it out. It's a new thing. It's a fun process.
Things, huh?
It'll work itself out soon.
Yeah. We're getting used to it.
Yeah, we were always kind of having ideas to play with the concept and the structure anyway, so yeah, we'll keep it interesting.
Anything to say before we go?
No.
I'm glad to get this episode over with.
I think we did a good job.
We've had a lot of problems.
I know. It's
not been that
many
bad,
hours
actually.
in the making. It could have been worse. There could have been a
actually,
fire.
no. Yeah, fair enough. All right, you got me on that one.
Yeah, we're both alive. Definitely could have been worse.
Yeah, but we're both dead on the inside.
That's true. Well, they can't blame this podcast. that's a longer discussion.
I know, yeah.
With the
So
professional.
what are you saying? If you don't like this podcast, kill yourself?
I don't think we need the beginning in that sentence.
No, I meant for you.
Oh, for me?
This question's only directed
Oh,
to
right,
you.
fair. I thought you were talking for everyone. I was like, I think I just told our whole audience to kill themselves. So that's probably not the best way to end your first ever episode, is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens if you have 3 days of technical difficulties. you end up alienating everyone.
Yeah.
It's fine. I've got slightly more respect for how they kind of manage with the Oscars and stuff now. That live show. What a nightmare.
This isn't even live.
I know.
It will be someday.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We'll work it out.
And then we're going to have to bleep ourselves.
That's true. We'll learn not to swear. We'll be terrible at that. Classic banter. Anyway. Oh god, do you know the one thing we're not good at, other than segues?
No, we're great at segues. We're not
good at signing off, but
No, sometimes we are.
well, sometimes we are.
We're
Well,
just not today, and I think I'm purposefully kind of.
You're extending
I'm
it
not
out.
helping.
You don't want it.
I'm not
to
helping. No, I don't want it to end. I want to go home. I want you to stay here forever.
I know. Just continue doing podcasts forever. Oh, we could just talk about films.
We did talk
forever,
about a radio show. We could just make a 24/7 radio thing, so we always.
That's
have to
true.
be
We're
in.
always on mic. I'm just
We're
looking
always
at the
on
other
mic.
films I've got as recommendations, and I'm just like, oh, you should have picked that. You should have picked that. You should have picked that. But it's fine. I'm always like,
We've
that.
got more
Just
weeks.
watch 'em. Exactly.
This
There's
is
stuff
going
to come out.
forever. This
They're all
is-
good shit.
Instead of the film club, it's called the Forever Club.
They're all good
Because
stuff.
it's going to keep going on forever.
In fact, I'll just one. I'm just going to shout it out anyway, because why not? It's on streaming service. It's a film called You Were Never Really Here. It's a Lynn Ramsey film with Joaquin Phoenix in the lead, and it's super weird and really, really, really good. And I've watched it like 3 times in the 3 months since it came out.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, that's a film I just recommend to people. I think it's on Netflix, and he
You
plays
either
like,
kept that quiet or you told me about it and I forgot.
I think I mentioned it. He plays like a brutal kind of. He's a guy people pay to go in when people get kidnapped and stuff, and he just smashes people up.
Oh.
But there's very little dialogue to do with him and his mom. It's really, really good. It's basically what Joker should have been, and I like Joker a bit, but not as interesting as this film.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a random extra recommendation for people.
Go and watch it.
Watch it. It's good shit. We've all got the time.
Yeah. Well, some of us do. Now.
Some of us do.
Some of us are working
That's
again
true.
now.
That's true.
Actually, to be fair, I've got all the time in the world.
That's true. 12 hours still unaccompanied.
12 hours in a massive mansion.
It's weird. Anyway, people start turning up. Can't give up too much.
Anyway, I've been Matt.
I've been Dill.
We've been the boys from What Pictures talking about films and stuff. This
Yeah.
is Film Club. You want to join us? We'll get better at it.
Yeah, we'll work out what we're doing. We promise.
Yeah,
We've done enough podcasts.
Yeah,
but-
we want to build a club of people who love films. So why don't you hit subscribe and join us?
Yeah, give us some feedback.
I feel dirty.
Just be
saying
nice. Yeah, I know. Like and just can't
Like and
finish
subscribe.
it.
You know
Can't
that. You know
finish
that
it.
kind of stuff. It helps.
No.
It
We're
helps.
trying to eat. Just like and subscribe. End it there.
Yeah, end it. Okay.